Oh my gosh, guys. I did it! Well, apparently word has been spreading that I like to back into things. Obviously, the bigger the item you're trying to back up, the harder it is to figure out if you're going to run into something. So when Halo View here contacted me to see if I'd like to demo this camera on the back of my horse trailer, you better believe I wasn't stupid enough to say no. Do you know how likely I am to run this into something? Either very likely, or I'll have to make a million stops and starts to get out to see how close I am to something. So we will be mounting the camera up next to that light. And actually, with a horse trailer, a camera system like this is super easy to install because you already have wires running along pretty much everywhere. I even have a little switch here I could wire into if I really wanted. Alright, so I have everything all set up right here. There's a couple different ways that we are actually going to look at wiring this, depending on how you want to use it or implement it on your home or farm. A couple of things you're going to want to get. This is a stripper crimper tool. And this is going to help us put our attachments on. This is another wire stripper cutter. No. Well, I don't know what was in that, but apparently something was. Hopefully I didn't just break it. Anyhow, we've got these. We have a couple weatherproof ring terminals, and this is for one way that we're going to use to attach it. And these are bullet terminals. And this, we are going to use these actually for our quick attach and release system. And then this is a cigarette adapter cord, and it just has an open end cord at the bottom. So you just wire that on. This is actually much longer than what I need. It's 8 foot. But you can always coil it up if you don't want to use all the 8 feet. I did see there were a couple of questions online as to whether or not you could wire this into a cigarette lighter. So I will show you how to do that right here. Alright, so one of the features that I really like about this is the specifications, okay? It has a wide voltage range input, which can be as low as 10 volts or as high as 32 volts. So because of that, I am actually opting to use a 20 volt lithium drill battery. Now, drill batteries, if you've watched my videos all the way through, every single video, and been on my Instagram, this is my #1 favorite portable power supply pack. Alright, so I've actually found ways to like integrate using these little slots to power a wide variety of motorized items around the farm. So that's where these little ring terminals come in, because these little rings will actually slide right into the grooves of this drill battery. So we will actually be able to test right here and now what the camera can look like before we actually fully attach it onto the trailer. So we're going to open it up. We have our instruction manual. Always read your instruction manual just so you don't mess it up. We have our camera specification card. I'm going to tuck him back here carefully. So the inside of the manual actually shows you some of the things that you have in here. So we'll go ahead and start pulling some of this stuff out. We have our antennas. So these antennas right here, let me get this up. These two antennas go on the side of your wireless monitor. I will point out the wireless monitor is not waterproof, so do not dump it in a pail of water just to test it, okay? The camera, however, is waterproof, but I still would never recommend dumping your camera in water to test it, because, come on, unless you're planning on floating your trailer down the river, it's not really something you need to do. And then we have a little tiny antenna for the camera. Alright, I'm going to tuck my instructions down here. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out. Woo! I'm gonna definitely say this guy is heavy. This guy is a beast. Now, if you're looking for something chintzy, I would not recommend this because this is not chintzy. Actually, it's upside down. So we have a little shadow guard right here, which is really pretty nifty. I mean, they thought this thing through pretty well, as far as I can see so far. It has a little, you know, this thing is actually really well thought through. Let's look at this, okay? Here's a little rubber guard because the cord feeds through the bottom hole down here. Now, if you've ever ran a cord through a metal hole, you know what happens. They wear through. So, the people at Halo View actually thought this through. And look, they give you a little rubber thing that fits right down in there. So when I feed this cord through the hole, this rubber will keep that cord from getting sheared off. That's pretty sweet. Good idea. All right, so right here we have our attachment for our antenna. Now I will point out that the camera antenna is shorter than the monitor antenna. So keep that in mind when you're setting your parts out. So I'll screw them on like this. There you go. So we're gonna set him off to the side here. I mean, this metal is like super heavy duty. And this also has that same little rubber attachment at the bottom. It comes with a screen protector. I'm gonna leave that on until I have it fully mounted in my car because I don't want to scratch it up. So right here we have the antenna slats, top. There's also a little slat right here for a mini SD card. If you're concerned about anyone crazy driving, such as my tractor videos, you can actually record the idiotic drivers on the road that might be trying to cause you an accident. So if you're worried about someone tailgating you, you can actually record the whole thing and turn it in as evidence to the police later. All right, and lastly on this side, we also have a 3M tape mount, and this is for the monitor. It pivots up and down like so. So this is our mounting bracket. You can wire it in directly with any of the given slots on the back. Now they also thought of another cool thing, which if you have a GPS in your car, you know this is an essential feature. All right, so right here we have, look at that. It's a camera shield. How on earth did they think about this? This is the smartest thing ever. Because if you're driving down the road and you have glare on your stinking GPS, or in this case your camera screen, you can't see it. Look, and it just snaps right on. How easy is that? Wow, so literally guys, this is the easiest, coolest thing to set up straight out of the box. All right, so you're probably wondering how on earth do you put this on? So these are what attach the bracket onto your camera. All right, so right here we have a wire. This actually connects into our connects into our camera over here. Yep. So this is kind of a little quick connect. Actually, it locks in. Now that I'm looking at it, that's kind of cool. It's a locking clip. Wires, we have our positive and we have our negative wire. Yeah. The positive wire, of course, is red, and the negative, of course, is black. So these two wires we will actually use to wire into these little guys right here. And our other set of wires we have right here. You can see all these cords. Now, before you start wondering why on earth there are so many cords, let me explain. This setup can actually run 4 different cameras off from it. So because of that, we have 4 different connection wires. So let's pull out our main wires right here. So we have our red and our black, which power the camera up. So all these wires have a different unique function, but for these purposes, we only need these 2. Power and ground. Black being ground, red being power. So these are the 2 we're gonna worry about. Alright, welcome to my home office / the dog kennel. We had to change locations because I had to pick up a couple parts, and well, you know, kids are home on vacation, so it's a little bit of a madhouse. So, anyway, here's what I had to swap out. So these are the bullet connectors that we will be using for this tutorial. Now the ones that I had shown earlier were not waterproof. These are waterproof, okay? You want waterproof bullet connectors. The size is a little bit larger than what I would like. This is 16 to 14 gauge. If you could find something that's, say, 18 to 22 gauge, that would probably be your best bet. The smaller the number, the bigger the wire. The bigger the number, the smaller the wire. It's like opposite of what you would think, alright? So, here's what we have. Now, this is regrettably going to be a little bit more complex than some of you would probably like, but I am no mechanical expert, so I will break this down for you easy peasy. Sound good? So power consumption is about 6 watts. That's very crazy, super low. So you really don't have to worry about it draining much of anything. Now you're gonna notice that these wires are very thin, okay? They're not using thin wires because they're being super cheap. Most likely they're using thin wires because it uses very small amounts of electricity. This one actually goes to the video camera. Now you're gonna notice, I'm giving you a lesson on wiring here. These wires go to the monitor. Now let's compare red wire to red wire. All right, let's see if I can focus. Maybe not. Okay, well if you can see, this wire here is actually much smaller than this wire here. Like crazy amount smaller. And that's because you really don't need a lot of power to run your video camera. But you do need a decent amount of power to power up your monitor. But this is still a tiny little wire. So, alright. So, your best friend is actually going to be Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and post all of the links in Amazon that you can shop for to get all the parts you need to do this setup. So that'll include these guys, that'll include wire strippers, that'll include your little plug here, and everything else you're gonna need, including wire. So if you decide to go with your Halo View camera here, and you're not quite sure how to set it up, all you have to do, look in the description on this video. All of the links will be right there. All you have to do is go boom, 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 done. And then you just follow the step-by-step tutorial and you will be up and rolling in no time. Sound good? Alright. This is the female end connector. The female has a hole in it, and we're not going to go into descriptions as far as why it's called a female plug, but I will let you figure that out. The soft squishy side, which is the side that's just a little bit more clear, this is the side that goes over your wire, like this. Now the wire that I'm actually using here is about, I don't know, 12 or 14 gauge, so it's just a little bit bigger than what we'd really like. But for today's purposes, we're just going to give this a try and see how it goes. But I would probably recommend something closer to 16 or 18 gauge wire, just because it's going to be closer to your actual wire size on your equipment. Alright, so we stuffed it in as far as it'll go. Now we're going to take our crimper here. And the cool thing about these is they're actually color coded. Alright, so there's blue, red, and yellow. Blue's in the center dot. So that is going to be our spot for right here. There's a part basically pretty much in the middle. You've got your solid, and then you've got the opaque starting to go over the solid, and then you've got the pure opaque. We're going to put it right here, smack in the middle, press hard, and we're going to do another one on the end just for good measure. Alright, after you've blown all the blood vessels out of your head, it should no longer come out, right? If you did a good job crimping, use your farm muscles, get it in there you go. There's your first one done. Now, for this part right here, you're actually going to heat it up with a blow dryer or a heat gun or a torch or something to that degree. but I don't have any out here with me right now, so we'll save that for the end. So this is your first connector. Now, this is your male connector. This goes inside the female. Ugh. Like so. Again, please, no analogies on this. Ugh. Now, just like with electrical plugs, be careful when you pull these apart because you can rip them out. Don't ever pull wires apart on the wire. Don't hold the wire and pull it apart. Always hold the connecting end. So hold right here and hold right there. Push them in that way and then pull them out that way. See? Then you're not gonna bust your wire line, okay? We're gonna go ahead and strip off our red wire and put another connector on here. Not the male, you want the female, both sides. So, get another female. That's gonna go boop, right on there. But let's get this stripped out first. So using your wire strippers, if you're not sure what gauge wire you have, this will kind of give you a good idea. I'm going to put it on the 14 gauge. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna take our copper stranded wires. All right, so here's our second one. We're gonna go ahead and stick our second one in there. Crimp, ready, set, go. So we've got both of our crimps in there. So we have both of our female ends and we are ready to go. Okay, next we're gonna hook up the wires for our Halo View monitor. So we're gonna pull all of the bright colored guys away and we're just left with the red and the black. Because our main units will always have the male ends on them, that's what we're gonna put on this. So we're gonna go ahead and get our male units. Now these guys are already pre-stripped, so I think they'll be okay sticking in there. So again, you stick them in as far as they'll go. We're gonna crimp it. Ready? Go. So there's our double crimped line. And then we're gonna hook up the red one. Alright, so now we've got these two guys. Let's go ahead and connect them and make sure they work. Alright, so there we go. There's our connected line. See? Alright, so let's go ahead and put the female connectors on our little cigarette lighter, and then we will take this and plug it into the truck and see if it works. So here's our two little wires. We're going to need to pull these guys apart a little bit so they got more space. So just go ahead and pull them apart just like a non-edible Twizzlers pull and peel. Then we're going to slide it in. We're going to do the other. So we now have our female connections and we have our male connections. So guess what we get to do? We get to plug them in. But which is positive and which is negative? Let's find out. Alright guys, you ready for this? Okay, so after some research, I found out that your striped wire is your positive, okay? And the unmarked wire is always going to be ground. So whether this is a solid white line or has a yellow stripe on it or a dash stripe, that is always going to be your positive or hot end of your wire, okay? So that's the one that connects into your red wire. Dink. All right, so let's fire this up and see what we have. All right, we've got a radio. Okay, so this is live. Okay, see, there it goes again. It says cam 1, no signal. Well, of course it doesn't have a signal. I haven't wired up that camera yet. But you know what this means? It means my wiring hack worked. I got my monitor rolling, and guess what else, guys? I can now plug it in with just a cigarette lighter. Check that out. Or, if I'd rather, I can always detach it and hook it up a little bit different way. Let's say I wanted to attach this to the side-by-side. The side-by-side, of course, like my tractor, does not have a cigarette lighter adapter or anything like that. This will not work. So I already thought of that. So we will pull these off, and at the very end I will show you another way to hook this up to make this camera so versatile you'll begin to wonder why you never thought to do this yourself. But sometimes you just need a girl, you know, to kind of figure this out, right? So let's go hook up our video camera and then hand it to my son and just see what kind of range we can get, okay? Think it sounds fun? Let's go. Alright, so we now have our helper here. Alright, so next we're actually going to use our 2 female connectors that we hooked up. If you remember, we hooked these up first because this was kind of like my test. So what our plan with the camera is, I would like to be able to set this up in several different areas. But in order to do that, I have to have a different sort of plug. See, this is the type of plug we have right now. It's just bare wires, which is great if you're just hardwiring it into something and leaving it there. But we're actually going to make it more mobile. So we'll go ahead and connect our little plug adapter here. This thing is actually pretty sweet. I've never seen a plug that actually locks in on itself. I mean, look at that. It just locks right in there. So it never comes out. That's pretty genius. Alright, so next, we're going to go ahead.
Identical one.
Okay. These should be stripped out enough. These are teeny tiny little wires. If I were to guess what size gauge they were, I would have to say probably 20 gauge or smaller. Probably smaller than 20 gauge. So I'm really hoping that these guys will fit this connector. Because honestly, they should probably have a red connector. But we'll give it a shot with this and see. We're actually going to free up a little bit more of this, so very carefully score it with your scissors, about an inch maybe. Just very gently squeeze and just kind of start turning it. The stuff's actually, be very careful because you don't want to cut the wires inside. Alright, pull them off. Shoot, my battery's running out of power. Alright, so I'm going to show you real quick what we did. These wires are so fine you have to be very careful. So what I did was I actually flayed open my scissors. Unless you have a really tiny wire stripper, basically I just kind of ran the scissors over it very carefully like this, and then I just kind of like filleted it outward like this, and then just kind of very carefully scraped the casing off. So the wires on here, it's actually a bundle of wires. So we twisted them together, and then we very carefully folded them over in half, and then continued twisting around. And that basically gave you an end like this, which is a little bit more thick, obviously twice as thick, as just the little end right there. So now we're going to hook this into our male adapter, re-crimp it, and see if it'll work. Let's try it. Oh my gosh, guys. I did it! Check this out! Hey! It's me! I'm kind of cooking sideways. Yeah? Check that out. Woo, it's a time warp. Who kicks butt? Alright, so we got this set up. Obviously there's a microphone on this. This thing is so awesome. I cannot wait to show you what I'm going to do with this camera, which is now mobile. You better look out. Alright, so keep that just like that. That's perfect, okay? This you can kind of turn any way you need to. Now take people out for a walk. Don't turn it upside down too much. Alright. Got some glare on my phone. I don't know where he's gonna go. Wait, no, don't come right next to me. Go walk off to the barn. Walk off to the barn. So we are basically testing the range on this right now. So you can see Bub is out there right now with the camera. So I just want to see how far this thing can actually go. I told him to walk to the barn, so let's see how far he can make it before it loses power. Oh, now it's starting to get a little choppy. It's a little hard to tell because if he angles it downward, then the antenna right here, which have to stay upright, are losing. Oh, starting to break up a bit. There it goes. Oh. Probably going to be bumping it a little bit at this point. So he's basically to the barn, guys. I'm guessing it's cutting out because he's bumping the cords a little bit. So he can walk all the way into the barn. Yeah. See. All right, let's go get him. Let's go get him. That was pretty good. I am seriously impressed by everything on this camera so far. Good job, Bob. You can come back. Come on, you did it. All right, so I mean, that's easily 300 feet, guys. And it probably could have gone a little bit further, but I'm guessing that he's bumping the cords that are connecting into the battery terminal. And like I said, this is just a temporary portable power source, okay? If you're doing like a long trip in the car, you probably want it firmly attached to a battery with actual terminals. But for testing purposes, this works great. Or if I'm gonna use it in, say, the side-by-side, I might just tape them on there just to keep them in place. But that would be another temporary use for the camera as well. Obviously the monitor, you would have to also hook up into a battery just like this. Come here, Bub. Awesome job, awesome job. You did great. Thank you. Hold on, let me untangle. Ooh, dropping my camera. Awesome job, thank you so much.
Now what?
That's it, that's all.
I thought we have to do some more.
No, that's it. All right, so our ring terminals here, the same way that we connected this for the camera, we will do that for the display unit up there. And you can actually power the display unit using the same sort of clips that I have on here. So both units can actually be portable. So let's just take a look at the display again real quick. All right, so let me find I got a mess of cords right here. Obviously this is not on right now because I disconnected this off from the power. Let's see. So this is our monitor power supply. And these colored cords again go to all the extra cameras, and they also run other functions as well. We're not going to worry about that today because we only have one camera. But maybe next time I can show you how to hook up another camera. This set right here goes to our monitor, and the black set goes to our cigarette lighter. So all we have to do, if we wanted to wire this up to a battery instead, is detach these. So then we just cut off another section of wire just like this, and we wire it up exactly the same way. One end will have our female ends on it, okay? They'll have our female ends. You're just basically going to make a whole replica of this guy right here. So you have female ends on that side, and the other side will have the ring terminals, okay? The ring terminals, of course, will go into your drill battery, and the female ends will connect into the male ends on your display unit. So you can actually run the display unit from a battery, and you can run the camera from a battery. So if you're on a quad, ATV, side-by-side, anything like that, you can either hook it into a drill battery like this, or you can actually use the ring terminals to connect onto the terminals of your battery. Now, if your battery has too big of ring terminals, you can actually, you probably get some wire and string up some wire on there. I mean, there's an infinite number of ways that you can hook these little rings. You can attach a bolt to the side of it and just loop it through the bolt with a little nut. If you guys really need to see all that stuff, I can show you in another video, but I think you can probably figure out ways to attach these. Bolts are good. You can get another chunk of wire and just wire it directly to the battery, but please be careful. Do not touch the two ends together on the battery or on your hand. So that is your tutorial. tutorial on how to hook up your Halo View camera and make it portable and make it simple, okay? If I can do it, I have zero experience, zero wiring anything. Pretty sure I do. I don't think I have any experience. I've just watched Eric wire a couple things. If I can do it, you can do it. So don't be afraid to get in there and do it. Take your time, do it slowly, and you'll get it done just right. My next video, I will show you how to install it and mount it on a horse trailer or whatever piece of equipment you're going to mount it on if you want to mount it permanently. So that'll be the next video, and then we will test it on the back of the horse trailer. Sound good? Take care. I hope you enjoyed it.